Hello. How is everybody? Good to see you guys. So I thought that today I would begin with a bit of a news wrap, very brief one, or some general observations. So you may have seen that the Supreme Court voted 9-0, a definitive ruling. TikTok, gone, per the Supreme Court. So of course, what does Donald Trump do? He decides to make an announcement that he will propose an extension to this ban when he takes office, which is set to happen the day after TikTok is banned. I'm not sure if anyone has explained to Donald Trump that the president does not have that kind of authority to overrule a Supreme Court decision by fiat. It doesn't work that way. Maybe somebody needs to explain separation of powers to him. I don't know exactly what he has in mind. Hey, Beth, how you doing? So I find this all to be very, very bizarre. It's amusing, but silly. So let's just pretend that that didn't happen. Hey, Snutter, how are you? Next point is that I was listening. Hey, Penny, I was listening to a review today of the movie Anora, which, as you all know, I thought was wonderful. And the reviewer was saying that one of the director's goals was to destigmatize sex work. Well, if that was one of his goals, I don't think that he did well. Hey, Joe from Detroit, member for 2 months. It is so good to see you. Hello, vultures. How are you? I mean, if nothing else, as I've said, Anora is a fantastic movie. It is one of the best movies I've seen in a while. It was one of the best movies of the year. And I loved it. I thought it was great. Mikey Madison was a revelation. She was brilliant in that movie. And all of the praise that's being heaped on it is fantastic. But to say that it destigmatizes sex work, I think, is not true. I mean, if anything, hold on, I'm pinning something. All right, so I've pinned the membership information at the top of the stream. If anybody wants to become a member or gift memberships, that's the information. If anything, I mean, the tragedy of Anora, the character, is that she is a commodity to be bought and sold, to be used by men. And if anything else, she is also reminded very definitively of her place in the pecking order and her importance in society by the boy's parents and by his godfather and the goons that are sent over from Russia to remind her that she is nobody, she is nothing, she was paid for a service, and that now the marriage is going to be annulled and that she needs to go off and do whatever it was that she was doing before this feckless, spoiled boy decided to spontaneously propose to her and marry her. So, I mean, the character is amazing of Anora, and it's a beautiful movie. But to destigmatize it, no, if anything, it just sort of underscored the absolute tragedy of this girl's life, a girl who is so full of life, a girl who is so, I don't want to use the word sassy, but so good at standing up for herself. And you have to ask yourself, well, what is her future? Hello, Negs. Hello, my love. How are you? So anyway, that was my observation about that. So, hello, Lucille. Good to see you. And I have a word for certain people out there. I am getting a little bit fed up with people who have no skin in the game trying to lecture me about anti-Semitism. I'm getting a little tired of that. And I noticed that the anti-Semite label is tossed around only at the convenience of the individual. They don't mean a word of it. They just use it as a gotcha for people that they don't like. Well, the word anti-Semitism has a very specific meaning for me. And I have told you about some of the experiences that I've had in life, from the bomb threats on my elementary school around the time of Munich to one incident where the sidewalk in front of my childhood home was being repaired and somebody came by and drew a swastika in the wet cement, to the experience of going to the synagogue after my mother died and having to go through a metal detector and seeing an armed guard at the entrance, which is not an uncommon sight at synagogues in the Western world, to being told that in order to get support, that there's sort of a transactional aspect to it, that I have to extend sympathy for people when I feel none, to be perfectly blunt about it. And I am not going to be lectured on what anti-Semitism is and isn't by a person who has no skin in the game and who couldn't give a fuck less. And is just trying to use it as a gotcha. And may I add that I am never going to be lectured on such a thing by a fucking Canadian. I have posted a link in the description box to an amazing article from the Free Press about the explosion of anti-Semitism in Canada under the Trudeau government. A situation about which this individual has never said a word, never expressed a moment of concern. So why don't you fix your own country and stop meddling in the affairs of what's going on here or what is going on specifically with me? I know what an anti-Semite looks like. I have tagged them and bagged them. I know that when somebody scathingly refers to me as a Zionist, and not in the good way that I refer to myself, but as basically a dirty Jew, and, you know, makes it clear that they want nothing to do with me because I'm a Zionist. And again, not in the good way, not in the way that I identify, but as a slur, then I know what I'm dealing with. And I have been gaslighted on this point for years now, online, and I have had enough. So, that is what I have to say about that. Do not presume to come over here and fucking lecture me and tell me that I have to prove that I am one of the good ones by denouncing this, that, or the other thing according to your list of demands. We have seen where that leads to. Exhibit A being Ethan Klein, an individual who was in good standing in the progressive community until he wouldn't bend the knee far enough for the taste and the likes of people like Hassan Piker and Frogan and Denhams and his community. And Ethan was dragged for it. Ethan, who is one of the most spineless, wishy-washy Jews I have ever seen in my life, and nothing that he said was good enough. Now, I'm glad that he's finally finding his voice and fighting back against these people. But you are not going to come at me sideways and tell me that in order for me or people in my community, meaning the Jewish community, to get any kind of support or sympathy, that we then have to go down a laundry list of things that we are required to say in order to gain your goodwill. Fuck you. Fuck you. You either give it or you don't. But again, I am not going to be lectured to by people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about and who don't get it. So, anyway, I'm done. I'm done bending the knee or trying to make good with people who are constantly moving goalposts. I am not that person. You come to the wrong lady. So we are going to continue. We're not going to watch all of Zach because, quite frankly, I find him exhausting, and I'm over it. I'm over it. I mean, he's not getting it. He's not fucking getting it. And he continues to stir the pot. Stir the pot and try to engage with Amberlynn. And it is incredibly embarrassing. So we are going to watch a bit of it. And then we are going to move on to something that's actually interesting, which is, thank you, girl, which is the lawsuit between Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, Ryan Reynolds. Evidently, Taylor Swift is involved in this mess. And you may ask yourself, well, who gives a shit if a bunch of millionaires are suing each other? Well, the thing that I really like, the thing that I am appreciating about it, is that Blair White, what am I saying? Blake Lively apparently tried to that Blake Lively is trying to Amber Heard Justin Baldoni, which seems to be the interpretation of this absurd lawsuit. And she is losing big time in the court of public opinion. It's just not going to happen, okay? It's a problem. And this sort of David and Goliath aspect to it. I mean, I know that Baldoni's suit is being backed up by a billionaire, so it's not like he's got a shortage of funds. But in terms of the Hollywood hierarchy and pecking order, he is very, very low on the totem pole. As far as directors go, he's not Christopher Nolan. He's not Steven Spielberg. He's just like a guy who was unfortunate enough to get involved with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And now we're finding a problem has erupted. And Ryan Reynolds is going to be hurt by this. They are going to need the best crisis management team in the fucking business in order to overcome the damage that this lawsuit is doing to all of their reputations. And I love the Taylor Swift element to it. All right, so I've decided to start Zach like half an hour in because he is absolutely unbearable. So we're going to listen to a few minutes of him, and then we're going to move on to the fun stuff.
Okay, we're 5 minutes in and we've made it, I'm pretty sure now, to the Zachary Michael portion of this video. Once again, also as a reminder, as she's sitting here saying that she's gone back and forth about if she wanted to respond to this or speak on this, that she did in fact say that she was not going to be giving attention to reaction channels in 2025.
You know what? I'm going to fire up my own
keep that in mind.
I'm going to stop.
Want to just
Let's see.
spew nonsense. I really wanted to sit with it and decided I think I should speak on it because it is kind of heavy on my mind, on my heart. So I have gotten a lot of support
now I can
and
hear
backlash regarding like what I said about Zachary Michael. There's a lot of people that think I should literally die and fall off the face of the planet.
Now, I don't know who said that, but that's certainly not my wishes or wants for anything in this situation. I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to be in a good mental health place, and certainly want you to go to therapy. Would never advocate for any of that or people saying that to her, and certainly anybody saying that to her is not saying it on my behalf.
For what I said about someone's mental health issues. And then there's the other side of people who are like, I applaud you for finally sticking up for yourself after years and years of torment.
Sticking up for yourself. Mind you, I do also want to say this. I agreed with the first half of what she said. In fact, I was like, you're not saying anything that I disagree with. I obviously make money off of Amberlynn. Obviously, my Amberlynn videos do much better than any other content on my main YouTube channel. Obviously, I wouldn't have the channel that I had if I didn't make content about Amberlynn. I've never denied those things. And in fact, in that video, I agreed with her. And at most, that part of the video, I was like, I just don't understand what point you're trying to make, because these are all things that I've said about my own channel in the past. If she would have stopped at that point, Good for her. Great. Like, I don't understand what the point was, but if she would have stopped there, like, we wouldn't have even been in disagreement. It was like taking it the next level to insinuate that my mental health wasn't real, wasn't factual, wasn't something I was actually experiencing. And that's the part that I think many other people took issue with.
Oh.
Say what you want about me making money off of Amberlynn Reid. It's true. I do. I do. I put ads on all of my videos about Amberlynn Reid. I make money off of sitting here talking shit about it. Like, no question about that. But I do just want to, like, clarify what I think people are actually upset about.
Okay, the thing that I find incredible about this guy is that and in general about the reaction community is that they are absolutely unwilling to take accountability for what they say and do. They will not do it. It's very, very nice that Zach is admitting that he makes most of his money off of Amberlynn Reid. I think that we all know that, all right? He's admitted to it. Good for him. Case closed, all right? But the problem is that he white knights for some of the shittiest, most awful reaction channels out there. He white knights for Jordy, who has gone IRL multiple times, who is taking information from anonymous people who feed him all kinds of tittle tattle and tea. All of this is unverified. Jordy and the rest who have mocked Tommy for being a victim of a horrendous domestic violence incident, just because they don't like Amberlynn or because they think that Tommy is having a bad influence on Amberlynn or whatever. And so they have unforgivably downplayed what it was that Tommy went through when she was a legitimate victim. He white knights for Karina Kaboom, the massive clickbaiting jerk who cannot stop overinflating incidents that happen in order to make money off of Amber, which is ridiculous. They keep on giving credence to that creepy ex-friend of Amber's. What is her name? What is the name of that girl? The one who pops up and leaves, the one with the shaved eyebrow. And why are we giving these people attention? It is so ridiculous, like this breathless announcement. Oh, there's been a DM drop. Well, Alexis, that's her name. Sorry, Alexis, I forgot it. Why are we so invested that we need to know every single aspect? We need to invade somebody's privacy to that extent. This is when a reaction channel is no longer a reaction channel. When they start going into your real life, when they start contacting your friends or ex-friends, when they start reaching out to relatives, just like Jordy did, when he reached out to the brother of that poor woman who died, who was Tommy's ex, when they start poking around, fishing around, looking for tea that maybe wasn't brought up on the original channel, that is when you are no longer a reaction channel. That is when you are deliberately stirring the pot in order to poke at the subject to get a reaction so that you can make money off of it. So just keep that in mind. It's part of the dehumanization process that that individual is no longer a person who deserves some modicum of privacy. If she wants to get on her channel and announce this, that, or the other thing, and you want to comment on it or criticize it, that's one thing. When you start going into somebody's real life, or when you start like hacking into people's Facebooks or getting screenshots of people's Facebooks when the Facebooks are set to private, I'm just pointing that out. Or doing things of that nature. That is when you are no longer a reaction channel. That is now getting into the realm of stalking and harassment. So let's continue.
I've received a lot of mixed feelings, and if you guys thought that I was not going to see the clip of someone actually like verbally abusing me, then y'all thought wrong. I did watch it, and I've also watched like another clip from Twitch, which I
verbally abusing Amberlynn Reid, verbally abusing Amberlynn Reid because I called you a dumb bitch. Miss Ma'am, the way that at the beginning of this video alone, I covered the onslaught of financial abuse that Beck has shared about the way that you treated them.
Okay, can I just say, first of all, I am so sick and tired of fucking Becky. I cannot take her. All right. If you want to criticize Amber Lynn for that, then that's fine. You realize that she and Becky have been broken up for years, and this is not a justification of what Amber Lynn did. She was horrible to Becky. I think that we can all agree with that. I think that we can all agree that, you know, Becky was just a convenient caretaker for Amber Lynn for years, and that both of them have made it abundantly clear that all the lies that Amber Lynn told about how, you know, they were so romantic and they were so in love, it was all a lie. But Amber Lynn is a liar. You know, what do you expect? But Becky, in my opinion, Becky has passed her sell-by date so many times, and it's the reaction channels that keep on bringing her back into the picture. You know, every time Becky has a problem, she goes on her channel and e-begs. She e-begs to fix her car. She e-begs for this. She e-begs for that. And now she's in a relationship, and it seems what? Neither of them are capable of holding down a job. Why is she constantly fucking e-begging, going back, dipping into that same pool to get sympathy and make money? It's enough now. You know, maybe right after the breakup, she shouldn't have squandered that huge audience that she built off the back of Amber Lynn, and she should have actually uploaded interesting content that people would have supported, and they did for a while. And then she goes dark, and she only comes back to ask for money. I mean, isn't this triggering some sort of red flag in anybody's mind? That she will constantly return to the same well in order to make money. You are an adult Becky, and no, I'm not going to call her Beck, and I'm not going to call her they, them, z, zer, zim, zippity doodah. That is ridiculous. Why can't you just grow up, be an adult, let go of this shit, and move the fuck on? It's enough.
And you want to come and say me calling you a dumb bitch is verbal abuse? Are you kidding me? And mind you, me calling you that was in response to you questioning my mental health.
Okay, but Zach, let me explain something to you. Let me explain why. Because you have positioned yourself as this great ally to women and a white savior to black people and, you know, the most exquisitely attuned SJW who cares so much about social justice and all of that. Your audience consists pretty much entirely of women, you know, with a few men here and there. But you have created the rod for your own back. You did this to yourself. You know, if you're going to come out here and portray yourself as this great ally to women and, you know, a great advocate for mental health and all that, then why do you have a channel that is completely built on criticizing women and specifically certain women who obviously have mental health issues? And if you don't mind my saying, you are not exactly a walking testament to the great benefits of therapy. I'm just saying, okay? Let's continue.
Please. Also, she said that she watched a clip from Twitch. I'm like, what did I say on Twitch? I didn't know people were clipping my Twitch channel like that. Huh, I'm curious. I do sometimes talk about her a little bit in like the first hour of my live streams.
Wait a minute. He said that he didn't know that people were clipping his Twitch channel like that? Really? So you mean to tell me that he hasn't been following along with on that Zachary Michaels snark Reddit thread? I find that impossible to believe. Impossible to believe. And you mean to tell me that he doesn't know that there are other reaction channels that have actually been reacting to what he actually says on his Twitch channel and saying maybe it's time to, yeah, exactly. This is exactly my point. Yeah. Zach, drop it, okay? You know goddamn well that people are following your Twitch and that people are criticizing you because of your oversharing and how you drop people's real names, and you criticize your family and you criticize your friends, and you constantly bellyache about how all these people aren't speaking to you anymore, and it all shows up on Reddit. Some of it shows up on the farms. Don't play dumb, all right? It's a bad look.
So it is possible I said something, but I don't know what Twitch clip in particular she's talking about.
Okay, minor spoiler alert for the rest of the video. She never shares a clip of me on Twitch. She never says, well, she alludes to me talking about throwing hands or something like that.
You did, though.
And so she also, as I started editing today's video, posted this on Instagram asking people to help her find her receipts and proof that she was sitting here talking about, well, no worries, y'all. I reached out to the people of my Twitch community and said, hey, do you have a clip of me talking about throwing hands? And people in my Twitch community came through with the clip that I'm sure she was originally referencing. And I'm going to include that here for you, just so that you have context for the rest of the video.
For her ass to sit here after I have said time and time and time and time and time and time and time.
You communicated with us.
And time and time and time and time and time again, saying like, I totally understand. You need a break. Like, take as long as you need. We will figure out other stuff to do over here. And did. And fucking did. So shut your fucking mouth, Amberlynn. And you can catch these hands.
I have never watched.
Okay, Zach, so you did say it. You did say it. And it's always amazing to me how the energy on Twitch is totally different from the energy on YouTube. You know, on YouTube, he still plays this role of the old Zachary Michael, you know, the sort of giggling guy with his Real Housewives references and sitting there with his mouth hanging open, much as we see here, and pretending that he's so above it all. But on Twitch is where he really goes ham. And people are watching it, and they're reacting to it. And he pretends that he doesn't do this. I don't know what kind of weird disconnect is going on up here, but nobody's buying it. Nobody's picking up what you're putting down, sis. Got it?
His Twitch before until I saw this clip. So I do feel like I need to speak up on this because it's kind of a lot, to be honest. And I really wish people would like separate like who the two people are and like biased opinions based around me and reaction channels. And look at how
I hope she includes whatever clip from Twitch she's talking about, because I think when I've talked about this situation on Twitch, I did say, just like I said in my video, that I felt bad actually about using the word bitch, because that's not usually language I use in regards to like women in general. Like, it's something I've tried to like take out of my vocabulary, and I was just very frustrated with the situation, which is why it came out. And I like still to today, despite like people being like, oh, go off, Zach, don't feel bad about it. Like, I just like, that's just not how I carry myself. And that's
but you
not,
do,
like,
though.
if I could go back and do it again,
but
despite
you do,
like
though.
people clipping that particular clip and it going viral on TikTok and things like that, it's still not like how I would have preferred to handle things, but was an honest, like, true reaction to what I was feeling at the time.
it's like person A and person B. Regardless, even though I feel like I'm standing in front of a bunch of like people who want to see me fail and who don't really care about what I have to say, I'm standing here and I'm using my voice because as a woman and
Stand there and use your voice, Diva. Use your voice.
And as someone here on YouTube who has constantly had to just fight and fight and fight, I'm not going to stop now. I feel like I have a lot to say, but I really just want to like dwindle it down into like short form. I said something about Zach, saying that like his mental health issues is the reason why he can't upload. But then the minute that I upload, he has a reaction.
Right.
That is the only thing I have ever said about Zachary Michael's mental health. And to be honest,
Okay, well, first of all, if she would have said it, like, the tone is far different, the way that she just presented it there. There, she's stating it matter-of-factly. When she presented that in that video, it was, I just think it's interesting that when Zachary Michael has mental health issues, blah, 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 blah.
Like, it's just a
You know, anytime that somebody has to make an argument and bring up your tone, that's when you know that they've got nothing. You know that you've gotten under their skin. There's no response to the points that are being raised in the argument. Tone is one of the biggest cop-out rejoinders that you can make. It's ridiculous. Well, I just don't like your tone. Well, what about what's being said? Is there any validity to it? Or is the person wrong? This is a common tactic that's used by people who do not know how to fucking debate to save their lives.
really weird coincidence to me that, like, when
Hey,
I take
T-girl.
weeks off, and I've done it a few times recently. Let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. But it's just really weird to me that when I take weeks off, all of a sudden, Zachary Michael is going through mental health problems, and he can't post, and he doesn't know what to post,
Right.
and he doesn't feel motivated. Oh, but the minute Amberlynn Reed posts, there's his reaction.
Okay, so, like, I do think tone matters, and I still think that that is, like, questioning my mental health, but, like, I will say the way she just stated it there probably would have gotten a different reaction out of me.
Oh.
I still would have been like, girl, please be serious. But, like, that was stated so much more matter-of-factly, as if it is a fact that I only have mental health problems when Amberlynn is not, like, uploading herself. Which, like, also, by the way, pointed out that that was not true. I posted across my two channels 76 different times.
Oh.
And she posted all of 22, okay? So, also, not even true, but I digress.
Zach, I am so embarrassed for you. I am so embarrassed for you. Look at you getting into this pointless, ridiculous back and forth with Amberlynn fucking Reed, of all people. Look at this. And it says a lot about his audience that they don't respond to this. They don't realize that they are part of the problem. His enabling, pathetic audience that lets him get away with all this shit. They know for a fact that he engages in all kinds of shady shit. And by shady shit, I mean promoting content creators like Jordy and Mr. Snowflake and Karina, the people who go IRL, the people who make up lies, the people who encourage reporting Tommy to the nursing board, the people who call Tommy a murderer. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. And Zach wants to be above the fray, but you can't be above the fray when you are promoting content creators who behave that way and use that kind of language. I'm sorry, Zach, it doesn't work, not even for you. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I don't see him calling that kind of shit out. I don't see it. So, I mean, it's gross. There are reactors in the Amberverse who are just as bad as the Alexandra Rodriguez people that we talk about. There are reactors who claim that they are upholding some sort of a standard of conduct and behavior, who behave every bit as badly as the people they're criticizing. And we can see it with our own eyes, or they're all scheming behind the scenes and running ops and doing all kinds of shit, or they're dispatching their communities to do it on their behalf. You think we don't know this? Believe me, we know. We're well aware.
Years that he has spent on his channel mocking me, being insensitive to any issue that I have. I mean, he can sit here and say that he stands up for me for this and for that and for random things, but sure, that doesn't take away the fact that I have been mocked by him.
Please provide the receipts, the evidence, the proof, the timelines, the screenshots. Okay? Like, please provide when I've mocked you. When I have not taken things seriously. The last time she tried to say this was when literally just months ago, whenever I was experiencing the breakup, and she was on her Instagram stories, and she said, I hope that he has empathy for me the way, or I hope he now knows what it feels like because he didn't care about me. He didn't have empathy for me when he's like taken advantage of my most vulnerable moments. And I literally, in my response to that in a video, went and showed clips and screenshots of almost every breakup that I've covered of hers outside of her breaking up with her extramarital affair, Erica, where I was like more than understanding, more than kind to her. I was so kind to her when she broke up with Beck, which like now in hindsight, like clearly Beck was going through way more than any of us knew. I was so kind about her breakup with Feline. So I'm just gonna need some examples of things that you think that I have done. I've done like parody videos, like super silly videos where like I have recreated silly, stupid stuff that's happened on her channel. So if that's what she means by mocking her, I really don't know. I really don't know. But what I will say is I have, and this is, I think, the point that people are trying to make, specifically because you're talking about my mental health, is I have always stood up for your mental health. I have always respected your mental health.
Yeah, what better way to stand up for somebody's mental health and encourage them to be better than to create an entire channel where you respond to every single thing that she says. And this goes for all reactors, believe me. I am not white knighting for Amberlynn Reed, trust me, okay? But it goes for all channels. Oh, I really support your mental health, and I want you to do better, and I want you to do this and that. And then as soon as the person, and not Amberlynn Reed, because, I mean, let's face it, she's never going to do better, okay? She's never going to lose the weight. She's never going to do better mentally. She's never going to make any progress. I think that we all need to accept that. That's why I don't watch her. What is the point? It's Groundhog Day. It's been Groundhog Day for years on that channel, which is why there's no point in responding to her or calling out the fact that she lies, which she lies all the time. We all are well aware of that. There's literally no point, you know? And the thing that galls me is when people couch it in, oh, well, I'm trying to encourage her. No, you're not. You're using her content to make money off of her back, which is what all these channels do. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. So, I mean, shit, I'm not here pretending that I'm doing this so that Zach will be better, that I can enlighten him. I'm here to make fucking money. That's what I'm doing here. You know, whether Zach's channel rises, falls, whatever, is of no importance to me. Zach has no impact on my life. The success of his channels mean nothing to me. I don't give a shit. I am here to make money. The end. And if he can make money at the expense of other people, then I can make money by pointing out the shit that he does and these other channels do. So anyway, I'm gonna end this because I just can't take him in any sort of dose. And let's move on to this Blake Lively thing because this is gorgeous. All right, now I don't know if you guys have seen this, but recently Ben Shapiro has gotten a bee in his bonnet over Andrew Tate, which is good. Now, I think that we all understand that the reason that he's doing it primarily is to take a dig at Candace Owens, who has become one of Andrew Tate's biggest simps. Her husband is a longtime personal friend of Andrew Tate's. And one of the things that I learned by watching the interview that Tommy Robinson did with Andrew Gold is that Andrew Tate is from Luton. Tommy Robinson has known the Tates forever. They've known each other for eons, since they were kids. And Tommy Robinson has pointed out on multiple occasions that Andrew Tate is a huge fraud. He's a scammer. He's a con man. He doesn't believe that Andrew Tate's conversion to Islam is authentic. I mean, we've seen Andrew Tate run a million scams online with his quote-unquote university and his, shady crypto deals. And recently, Andrew Tate appeared on Benny Johnson's channel with a Trump lawyer, of all people, who sat there and kissed Tate's ass. It was disgusting. It was an absolute disgrace of a stream that guy did. And I'm sorry, but I don't think it's a good look to buddy up to and suck up to a human trafficker and a man who made his living off of trafficking and exploiting women for money. In other words, a pimp. Okay. And Tate has been trying really, really hard to do like this reinvention campaign where he's insisting that the charges that he's facing aren't real or that they've been thrown out. None of this is true. And he's using people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson to try and clean up his image because they want his audience, number one. And because they have some weird, like, personal stake in rehabilitating him, which is disgusting. So anyway, Shapiro went after Tate, which I thought was great. At least somebody who's got the moral rectitude to go after that scumbag. Not that it should be that difficult. So anyway, here is Shapiro. And no, it's not just Shapiro commenting on this lawsuit. It's also Megyn Kelly, and she had some good things to say. If you want to get more information on this lawsuit, there's no shortage of videos. People have done lengthy analyses of the filings in this lawsuit. But this one gives us a really good overview. So let's give this a listen.
Hollywood has been torn apart by a brand new controversy. This is the controversy between a human named Justin Baldoni and another human named Blake Lively. Now, you've probably heard of Blake Lively because she's an actress who's married to Ryan Reynolds. Justin Baldoni is significantly less famous, but they did make a movie together called It Ends With Us. Mm-hmm. The log line for that film is, quote, "When a woman's first love suddenly re-enters her life, her relationship with a charming but abusive neurosurgeon is upended, and she realizes she must learn to rely on her own strength to make an impossible choice for her future." So it sounds totally awful. I, of course, have not seen a film like that because I have testicles. So that's not a man movie. That is a movie that is made for. In any case, this film became the subject.
Ben, don't sell yourself short, okay? You loved Wicked, and that was not a movie that was made for straight men. But he's a theater kid, so he thought it was great, even though I totally disagree with some of his points. He thought that Wicked was fantastic, so let's go.
Of 1,000 think pieces and 2 massive lawsuits.
Hey, Lexi Pro.
Because, as it turns out, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were the stars of the film, and Baldoni directed it. They didn't get along. Apparently, rumors of a feud began during their promotional tour in August 2024. There was speculation that Blake Lively had actually brought in her husband, Ryan Reynolds, to help take over creative control of the film, and Baldoni wasn't showing up at press events. And then Baldoni hired Johnny Depp's crisis management and PR professional, a person named Melissa Nathan, to represent him. Lively herself was doing some kind of strange things during her press tour.
Also, I wanted to point out that the guy who is bankrolling Baldoni's production company and Baldoni have a connection because they're both of the Baha'i faith. And so I guess that's how they connected with one another. That's just an aside. The guy who is bankrolling Baldoni has said that he's going to spend upwards of $100 million to basically destroy Blake Lively in court. So let's just say that Baldoni may be very, very low in the Hollywood pecking order, but he is backed by a very deep pockets individual who has said point blank that he will spare no expense to destroy Blake Lively and, by extension, Ryan Reynolds, who, if he had had any fucking sense, would have stayed as far away from this goddamn mess as humanly possible.
She was criticized for her tone-deaf approach to the movie, which is supposedly a fairly serious movie about abuse and all the rest. Here, for example, she was doing a strange interview.
But for people who see this movie, who relate to the topics of this movie on a deeply personal level, they're really going to want to talk to you. This movie is going to affect people, and they're going to want to tell you about their life. So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you and then we could
That's weird. He's literally asking, what would you say to somebody who is talking about abuse? And she's like, you want my phone number? Like, what is happening right now? And then apparently an interview with a journalist named Kirsty Flaw resurfaced from 2016, in which she was being very, very weird with her co-star from a movie called Cafe Society, which was a Woody Allen film.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are
You
you
like the
like-
movie? Are you a Woody Allen fan?
I love most of his movies, and this one was so like visually amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Did you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And working in
Everyone
digital.
wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
I love Jesse's suits and
That's
how
what I'm saying.
he
His wardrobe was
turns it- oh, I
beautiful.
know,
Corey's
everybody.
wardrobe
I
was
know,
gorgeous.
he's
Those
so great.
high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
Do you know how much it pisses me off when these bitches like Blake Lively try to pass themselves off as feminists? Oh, would they ask the men about the clothes? Would they? Now, I never saw Cafe Society, so I don't know anything about the costumes, but you can rest assured that if I ever sat down with Steve Buscemi or any of the actors from Boardwalk Empire, I would absolutely 1,000,000% ask about the wardrobe, which was incredible, gorgeous and stunning. But I hate it when they try to play it off. And as far as I can recall, the woman who's doing the interview is infertile. And so that crack about, oh, what about your bump or whatever, it was cheap. It was a cheap shot. So, ick.
I would wish men
I'm
wore
sorry,
high-waisted
too.
pants
I
like that
know.
still.
Me
Or
too.
their father with his tank top in
Oh,
bed.
it's so
Just
good.
like it's just like
Did you
that.
catch
You could
the,
feel
the
it.
tablecloth on the
Look at the interview. The
light
interview's like,
in the
what's happening
Italian
right now?
restaurant when they eat spaghetti
I didn't
and
notice
it-
that. No.
that-
That is
There's
a,
so much
like-
warmth of everything,
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
man,
not
they're
just
weird.
the women that have the clothes.
But
it's
I
a period
we get
piece.
the conversation, but it's like
Yeah.
every detail with everybody.
But yeah,
It's so,
it was
so
amazing
beautiful.
to look at.
okay, so I mean, first rule of Hollywood, actresses are very largely weird. I'm just going to put that out there. Also, I didn't realize that Parker Posey had done a movie since Coyote Ugly. Right? I didn't realize that she
Oh, shame on you, Ben. You never saw the Christopher Guest movies? And I was really embarrassed for Parker Posey. I think that she was trying to, like, downplay what had just occurred in that interaction, which was so incredibly uncomfortable. But I want to think the best of that. But I'm just sorry that she got dragged into it. And I'm sorry that she's going to be immortalized in that incredibly cringy clip.
was still a working actress. In any case, in December, Blake Lively filed a legal complaint against Baldoni's Wayfarer Studio. She claims harassment, retaliation, failure to investigate or prevent harassment, aiding and abetting harassment, breach of contract, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, false light, invasion of privacy, interference with prospective economic advantage. And Lively had set forth a list of 30 HR-related demands to be met by Baldoni and his production company. Those demands included no more showing nude videos and images to Lively or her employees, no mentions of Baldoni's addiction or discussions of personal encounters, no more inquiries about Lively's religious beliefs or weight, and all intimate scenes to be highly choreographed in advance. Well, as we will explore in a moment, many of these accusations are taken wildly out of context. And because you hear that, initially you're going to be sympathetic to the actress who's accusing and director of that sort of activity. But it turns out not so much. Well, she then apparently went to the New York Times, and the New York Times did a giant propaganda piece on her behalf, talking about how dare Justin Baldoni defend himself with the PR campaign.
This New York Times piece was disgraceful. And I think that it was largely due to this New York Times piece, that the narrative, because she filed first, that the narrative was in her favor, and there was a massive wave of hate directed at Baldoni before he had a chance to respond, before he had a chance to argue his side of the story. And I think that if it hadn't been for what Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were obviously doing behind the scenes to try and stir up a hate mob against Baldoni. And make no mistake, okay, the movie was a hit. The movie did really well at the box office, despite that disastrous press tour. Blake Lively was trying to seize control of the rights to the follow-up movie that was written by, I guess it was a book that was written by the same author, which Baldoni has the rights to. And he didn't want to give it up. He didn't want to sell the rights. He wanted to produce it on his own. And this was a ham-handed attempt. It was a power play to try and yank the rights away from Baldoni, to try and bring him to his knees and intimidate him into selling off the rights so that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds could produce it, star in it, direct it. Blake Lively wants to direct it herself, whatever. And it failed because when the time came and it was time for Baldoni to respond, that was a whole different story.
The New York Times says, quote, she claimed Baldoni had improvised unwanted kissing and discussed his life, including encounters in which he said he may not have received consent. Mr. Heath, the producer, Jamie Heath, had shown her a video of his wife naked, she said, and he had watched Miss Lively in her trailer when she was topless and having body makeup removed, despite her asking him to look away. She said both men repeatedly entered her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding. And then the hit piece had a bunch of text messages and emails between Baldoni and his PR team. Baldoni ended up being dropped from William Morris Agency, which is one of the biggest agencies in the world. Lively claimed that she missed hosting SNL because of the Baldoni smear campaign.
Okay, so now this is the other thing. Baldoni has proof that she has impacted his career very negatively because, again, even though he's backed by a lot of money, in terms of the pecking order, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift are all up here. And they all teamed up to intimidate this man who, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'd never heard of him before this movie came out. I'd never heard of him before the press tour. I didn't know who he was. And what she was accusing him of was so at odds with the image that we saw in the press tour when he was giving solo interviews. Now, granted, the man is an actor, okay? So there's all kinds of ways for a person in that profession to cover up the shitty and horrendous things that they do behind the scenes. No question. But I don't think that what she expected was that he was going to come with full receipts, including recordings. So let's continue.
And then Baldoni is now counter-suing. He sued the New York Times for $250 million.
Good
he claims
for you.
that Ryan Reynolds aggressively berated him. Lively then sued Baldoni officially. And yesterday, Baldoni sued Lively and Reynolds for $400 million. Well, joining us online to discuss the details of this salacious story is my friend Megyn Kelly, journalist and host of The Megyn Kelly Show. Okay, Megyn, so I need you to walk me through the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni scandal here, because I will be frank with you, until my producers put this on my agenda, I literally had no idea this was happening because I've not seen a movie with either of these people, I think maybe ever. So explain.
Yeah. Okay, here's the top line. It's a dispute between two Hollywood actors that's, on every one of the tabloid magazines, et cetera. And effectively what I think has happened here, and the reason I think people are interested in this is because she has made herself into the new Amber Heard and he is the new Johnny Depp. That's what's caught people's attention. She had a round of negative publicity when this movie she did, It Ends With Us, about domestic violence, across from which she starred from Justin Baldoni, who was the male actor lead and was also the director and producer of the movie. So they starred in it, came out. She suffered through a round of somewhat negative press because, as often happens when these stars drop a movie, people start digging around for other interviews of them, et cetera. And it was just sort of a course of, wow, like, she seems like kind of a jerk. Wow, she's like kind of a bully. She's rather mean. And to people who are less powerful than she is, less well-known than she is, and so on. Let's not forget she's married to Ryan Reynolds, who's one of the biggest stars in the world. His fame dwarfs hers. But the point is she's a part of a power couple. And whatever, it kind of passed. It was over. But like a lot of thin-skinned Hollywood types, she couldn't stand the fact that it was still lingering in any way out there. And she decided to file a complaint with the California Human Rights Division. But that was really, I believe, and it is alleged by Justin's lawyers now, just to set up so that she could give the New York Times cover
Right.
to do a huge hit piece on him and attempted rehab of her, saying, oh, that wasn't an organic round of bad press. Really, it was Justin Baldoni and his PR team trying to hurt her. And
Have I not told you guys repeatedly that there's nothing more corrupt than the entertainment press, except for maybe sports? Sports and entertainment work hand in hand. The entertainment press is entirely driven by access. It is entirely driven by covering up the misdeeds of high-ranking people in Hollywood. That is why Harvey was allowed to get away with his predations for as long as he was. Because Harvey was very, very good at threatening people. And this was when Miramax was based in New York. And he was very good at threatening people and saying, okay, well, if you write a hit piece on me or on my company, then I will make sure that you are shut out of every premiere. I will make sure that you will never have access to the people in my movies, that you will be basically iced out of all of that. And keep in mind that that was a time when Harvey was riding high, when Harvey would run unbelievable campaigns, mostly smear campaigns, in order to get Oscars for his movies and the people in his movies. That is not to say that Miramax produced bad movies. They produced excellent movies. But I think that we all remember that farce when Gwyneth Paltrow won the Oscar for Shakespeare in Love. That was entirely Harvey pulling strings behind the scenes. Or the way that Harvey basically single-handedly destroyed, allegedly, this is what is alleged, and I totally believe it, the way he destroyed A Beautiful Minds Oscar campaign behind the scenes with the Whispering campaign that basically re-triggered John Nash's schizophrenia and caused him to lock himself in his house and not want to be seen in public anymore. So Harvey was very, very powerful. So you ask yourself, well, why didn't we know this? Why didn't we know that? Why didn't we know about what happened in the boy band circles? Why didn't we know about Diddy? Why didn't we know about this? A lot of people did know, and they just kept their mouths shut out of fear, either for their own personal safety or because they didn't want to be shut out. And that's exactly what these two are doing now. They are trying to use Ryan Reynolds' Hollywood influence in order to shut down this person, again, who's not Christopher Nolan, he's not Spielberg, he's not Martin Scorsese, he's very, very low level. And they're cynically twisting and using Me Too as a way to get one over on this guy. And luckily now the facade has been ripped off and we're seeing what's actually happening.
The reason he allegedly did this is because she'd accused him during the filming of the movie of sexual harassment. So she's a Me Too victim, he's a villain, and all the negative press you saw about her was astroturfed. Okay, that was her opening shot. Well, Justin Baldoni did a very smart thing, and he hired Brian Friedman, my lawyer who represented me in my fight with NBC. And let me tell you, you could ask for no better. He knows how to fight, and he will find where all your bodies are buried, on the other side. And there are a lot of bodies for Blake Lively. So he's first filed a defamation lawsuit against the New York Times for their totally irresponsible report about this matter.
Okay.
In which they made a mistake, so egregious mistakes, but intentional errors, you could argue, about a case that showed, for example, a text showing how Justin and his PR team were out to smear poor innocent Blake, conspiring, saying, look at this article in the Daily Mail saying she's terrible and she's about to be canceled. And the other PR hack writes back, you're that good. And the first PR hack writes, yeah, can you believe me? This is part of their evidence against the evil Justin team. And then Brian Friedman and his lawyer in his legal complaint against the Times shows you the whole text exchange, which the Times had, we presume, in which they use a sarcasm emoji, and the woman saying, I did it, explicitly says, except I didn't do it.
Uh-oh.
And they're lamenting that they didn't do it, but everybody's going to think that they did do it, but they didn't. That's one piece of it. Now in this lawsuit that he just filed again, this is a second lawsuit by Brian Friedman on behalf of Justin. This is against Blake, Ryan Reynolds, and their PR hack.
Uh-oh.
And what they're alleging is that they had nothing to do with that negative round of press that Blake suffered last summer, that it was organic, but that they did have internal PR meetings about what they might have to do because this woman, Leslie Sloan, who works for the Ryan and Blake, was dropping hit piece after hit piece on Justin. And that Blake had spent the entire prior year trying to wrest control of this movie away from Justin Baldoni. It was his film.
And the funny thing is that I remember seeing the pieces in the Daily Mail and some of the other rags that were coming out with these hit pieces against Justin Baldoni or directed at Justin Baldoni. And it was so blatantly obvious who the sources were on those stories. It was so clear, whether it was Us Weekly, the Daily Mail, People, whatever, all of these rags are so compromised. And I don't know why people didn't just go on the fucking record. If you're going to do that, and everybody knows who's doing it, everybody can see the strings being pulled behind the scenes. It's sort of like when Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, I don't know if they're divorced yet. I think that they may have finalized it. But during the whole course of that interminable divorce proceeding, you could see that there were certain publications that were definitely in Brad's favor and others that were in her favor. And so you can tell exactly who's feeding these publications the information. It is blatantly obvious because all the coverage was completely slanted in one direction or another.
He was the director, he's the producer, he's the one who found the book and got the idea for it. And she was such a brat that she wanted to control every scene, wanted to see all the dailies, wanted to do her own cut and did her own cut of the movie. All this is very unusual for just an actress in the film, even if she's the lead, and that she's now tried to turn this whole thing into a PR victory for her.
Right.
To get past what appears to be the fact that she is an egotistical bully.
We'll get to more on this in a moment. First, if you're a homeowner the way I am, when is the last time you
Ben,
actually
I'm
checked the title
sorry.
to your home? If the protection today by going to HometitleLock.com and using promo code Shapiro. Read those. I read that New York Times piece, and the allegations, just the way the Times reported them, seemed pretty bad. It was like, oh, he's showing her, one of the producers is showing her naked pictures of his wife. He's talking about they walked in on her while she was breastfeeding, even though she'd said not to. But it turns out that on like any level of examination, a huge percentage of this seems to fall apart. Correct?
Yes. So Brian Friedman, in that first lawsuit against the Times, produced the text messages, and I've seen them all. And it shows that, take the two that you alleged. The alleged that they subjected poor Blake Lively to was by Justin's business partner, who is a producer of the film from Wayfair, that's the name of their company, who she has a birth scene in the movie. And he showed her a still shot from his wife's delivery of their child, which I've also seen. You can't see any R-rated parts at all. It's actually a really lovely artistic photo of a husband with his arms around his wife in a bathtub and the baby on top of the wife. There's no vag, there's nothing, right? It's like, it's not by any stretch of the imagination. But poor Blake was subjected to this picture, which is just an example of how she loves to play the victim. And then the one about, he burst in on me uninvited when I was breastfeeding my child. She says we should run lines together. He's like, anytime. And she's like, come on over. I'm breastfeeding the baby in the trailer, but come on over.
Oops.
So it's like, it's written there, black and white. She invited him in, and a lot of women are comfortable having someone around when they breastfeed. So it's not so weird, especially out in Hollywood, for him to assume, yeah, I guess she's fine with this because she did let him in. Ryan Reynolds comes off terribly. He had them over to their penthouse in New York, and Taylor Swift was believed to be there, according to this latest complaint, who's Blake Lively's BFF. And what they allege is that they blacked out a lot of names, but we think it's Taylor. That the three of them sat there.
The
and
drama.
They berated Justin for things that were going on the set that they didn't like. They took control of the script. Blake personally, with Ryan's help, rewrote scenes. Again, not within the purview of an actress. And then after that, they have text messages in which Blake tells Justin, this is in the latest lawsuit, I know you've never watched Game of Thrones, but when you get around to watching it, you'll realize I'm Khaleesi.
Oh, Lord,
and these
have
are
mercy.
my dragons.
Oh, boy.
And I have the best dragons in the business, right? Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. And what they're alleging is that, let's face it, none of us has ever heard of Justin Baldoni before this whole thing. I mean, who the hell is he? I guess he's in some small thing I never saw. But she's saying, F with me and will crush you. My dragons and I, the biggest
Oh, boy.
movie star, one of them in the planet, the biggest pop star in the planet, and I will hurt you unless I get my way. So her allegations have fallen apart, and her I was not really a bully, I was just targeted allegations have fallen apart. And now he's going full Johnny Depp on her to show that she was the bully, she was the one harassing him, and this guy who had, comparatively very little power was forced now to come out and tell the truth about Blake Lively.
So, I mean, this is all more fascinating than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. And I have to say that the blowback to Ryan Reynolds, I think, is going to be pretty severe, because his whole image is this cool guy who's very easy to get along with, friends with everybody, jokey. But if it turns out that he's standing sort of in the wings of the shadows, ready to go after anybody who crosses Blake Lively's bizarre machinations, that's not a great look for him.
No, it isn't.
No, and by the way, good luck to Blake Lively in getting hired again, because all of her diva antics are coming out, and the way she behaves behind the scenes. And now this with the lawsuit and the New York Times thing, because she's now filed against him as well.
Hi, reading.
So it's a terrible move by her and them, PR-wise.
Yep.
But Ryan Reynolds, one of the things he allegedly exploded on Justin Baldoni over was alleged fat shaming of Blake, because I guess when she was shooting this movie, she was postpartum and she was trying to get back into shape. Well, now they've produced the text messages, Baldoni and team, in this latest lawsuit against her, showing Justin being like, don't worry about any of that. We can shoot any scenes that require, exposure toward the end of the movie when, you feel better about things. This is the last thing you should have to worry about. I got you, right? The alleged fat shaming that Ryan Reynolds went off on him over, that's all over her lawsuit that he's been excoriated for in the press, the left-wing press, was when he went to it was either his trainer or her trainer or the trainer on the set. And he asked how much Blake weighs. And that it was like, how dare he, right? How dare. Turns out Justin Baldoni, this has been documented, has serious disc issues and was actually in the hospital for like 2 months after this film wrapped because of his disc issues, and was worried because he had to pick her up in a scene.
He had to deadlift her.
Officer and a gentleman style.
Right.
And he was very concerned about his discs. He didn't want to go to her and be like, hey, how much do you weigh? Because no man wants to do that. So he goes to the trainer to say, can you let me know? He didn't give two. You see the text with him and Blake being like, please don't worry about this at all. I got you. It's just the picture they're painting of him is so gross. It's another Amber Johnny situation.
That's
in my
bad.
opinion.
Wow.
That's bad.
That is a wild story, and I appreciate you sharing all those details with me that I certainly would not have read on my own. Megan
I
Kelly.
get you?
You got me. I'm interested in this now, which is why you have to listen to the Megan Kelly Show. Everybody go tune over to Megan's show. She does a great job with all the issues, including this one. Megan, really appreciate the time. And congratulations on next week. Next week will be awesome. Inauguration week. You got big plans?
Oh, wow. Congratulations to us all.
Yeah, really.
Okay, so there you have it. It absolutely sickens me, but does not surprise me that this is what Me Too has come to. That it is being used as a way to, dogpile and attack people who didn't do anything wrong. And the huge mistake of trying to do it to someone who apparently kept extensive notes and records of all of their interactions, which he has now turned over to a very powerful, very determined attorney, if you will. And it's a problem. It's a problem. And it pisses me off because I watched Me Too go off the rails and then completely fizzle out, only to be briefly revived because of the Puff Daddy thing, or P. Diddy, or whatever the fuck his name is. And now to see it used in such a cynical and exploitative manner is disgusting to me. It is. But this is where we are. This is where we are. And you do not want to be compared to Amber Heard. Okay, this is a problem. And when I think about, hey, Queen Reindeer, when I think about that amazing press tour that Ryan Reynolds did with Hugh Jackman for Deadpool, and how adorable it was, and how relatable the two of them were, and how well they got along, and also how apparently Ryan Reynolds must have strong-armed Hugh Jackman into doing the red carpet thing for Blake Lively's movie. and how uncomfortable he looked, how awkward he looked, you know. And it's a shame because, if anything, Ryan Reynolds' image has always been so down folksy and relatable. And yeah, he's a huge movie star, but he's just so friendly and humble and all that. And then we find out that behind the scenes, he's a lunatic when it comes to defending his wife, which, I mean, we can all agree, of course, as a husband, he should be defending his wife, but to go to this extent and then to pull Taylor Swift into it, the whole thing is absolutely delicious. It's absolutely delicious. I love every moment of it. And I love the fact that he has documented so thoroughly, meaning Justin Baldoni has documented everything so thoroughly that there's no way to argue your way around it. It was extremely unwise of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds to do what they did. And now it's all going to get played out. I'm hoping that it all gets settled. In a way, I hope it all gets settled. In a way, I hope that it's dragged out for years so that we can all enjoy the fallout. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And speaking of which, I saw that there are still plans to announce the Oscar nominations this coming week. So I guess that they're going to be moving forward with the Oscars, which, I mean, I get it. It's like something that the town has been looking forward to. I think that it's kind of a questionable decision because of the fires in Los Angeles. And God forbid that we are going to be seeing a bunch of actors and actresses on the red carpet talking about the fires and wearing like special little ribbons and pontificating on the podium. I'm dreading it. I'm dreading it. But, you know, I guess that the plans to pull the plug on the Oscars was not serious, and that they're going to, you know, move on with it. But anyway, all right, guys, that's all I've got for you guys today. I want to appreciate your being here. Please do consider subscribing, leaving me a like, sharing, whatever on the way out. Thank you so much. What shade lipstick? It's YSL. I mean, I'm wearing Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, the not number 1, but number 2 lip pencil. And then I've got Urban Decay Rush that I filled my lips in with. And this is YSL. It doesn't have a shade. It is 62W 800 162. Like a robot. But anyway, all right, guys, thank you so much, and I will see you guys the next time. Thanks again.